The World Trade Center did not collapse due to fire, nor did it collapse due to gravity or bombs or thermite. In fact, it did not collapse at all. What you see in this video is not a building collapsing. It is, in fact, the entire building turning to dust in midair. Now, it is very, very difficult for most people to acknowledge this because for the past 2 decades, we have heard the language collapse, 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 fall, crumble, etc., and many other similar terms. It's very difficult to break out of this mindset, but once you see a building turning to dust in midair, you cannot unsee it. It is undeniable. So I'm going to be walking you through a few clips here where that is clearly what we see without any possible shadow of a doubt whatsoever. My goal is to eliminate any possibility for you to deny that the building's turned to dust, okay? So this video is the first one that really opened my eyes to it. What we see here, I'm just gonna let it play out for a second. Did you see that? I hope you were able to see that without me pointing it out. I'll do it one more time. And then if you can't see it, I will walk you through it step by step, which maybe you've already seen it. I'm gonna walk you through it anyways. So, actually, let me put this on a loop here. Now, to me, it's incredibly obvious the entire building is frothing up into dust. I don't need to be instructed in that anymore. I can just see it. But look at this piece here. It's solid, and then it just dustifies. Solid to dust. Again, you cannot deny that that is turning to dust. Now, many people try to. There's another angle of this that was posted on a YouTube channel that posts a lot of footage of the day. It's 9/11 analysis video, I believe. I hope I quoted that correctly. He posted this clip, and you can see the same thing right here. That same piece of steel turns into dust as it is descending. Now, someone commented, well, it's a very low-quality video from miles away. Of course you're going to think, well, haha, okay. And then the original person that posted the video, he wasn't the one that said that, but he sent me links to these pictures here. And you can indeed see 3 columns. They're kind of too late. If they were 3 or 4 seconds earlier, it would have helped, but it does at least demonstrate that there are only 3 solid columns, because these pictures are higher quality than the videos. There are only 3 solid columns. The rest of whatever was there has turned into dust. Okay, so going back to the video, the entire building is turning to dust. If you cannot see that yet, just start with this little tiny piece inside, which is right here. It's solid, and then it turns to dust. Now, as I was preparing for this video, I actually noticed, see this here, this little plume of dust. I don't want to call it smoke because it's not smoke. Let me go backwards and follow it backwards. I can't drag the video slider backwards and also have my cursor on the piece that I want to point out to you, but I'll do it this way. It's right here. And as this goes forward, notice how it descends, and then now there's just dust in the same place that this other middle chunk turned into dust as it was descending into that region. So everything within that region turned into dust. Don't ask me how this works. I'm just showing you that it is there. Now, even this is not sufficient for some people. I can understand to a certain degree if you've been deceived into using language of collapse and crumble and things like that. But this one, I really don't think you could have gotten around the other one. You can't get around the other one. This one especially, you cannot get around. I'm going to let this play. Actually, no, I'll just walk you through it this time. You see this top chunk of the building right here. It's very defined. There's a definitive border. Okay, I hope we can all agree on that. It's 208 feet wide. That's probably about, I don't know, 10 to 20 floors that we're seeing here. But we have this solid top of the building. I just want you to focus on that. Okay, really the entire thing, but let's just start off with this top part. It descends. It's still defined. and I'm actually going to do this frame by frame. It's defined, it enters, or it goes behind this dust here. And so if we kind of follow it, or follow where we think it would be under the dust, it should be somewhere kind of around here. But then what do we see? Oh, look, what happened to it? Now we just get all these jaggedy columns. So what's up with that? Let me play it again. This one, you cannot possibly get around this. You have a solid, probably, this is like 30 floors initially. What we're seeing here is probably more like 20. And then it goes under the dust and comes out it's not undefined. There's no solid top anymore. And it's not like the building was just composed of the outer columns. Now, there are some people that like to say that. They're wrong. They're very out there, kind of on the fringe. No one takes them seriously except for a few people. They can be disregarded. But notice how it's only the outer columns now. Like, none of the inner parts of the building are in there. You'd expect to see floors and desks and things. I mean, maybe not from this far away. But I mean, you should see something, but you don't. All you see is the outer columns, all jaggedy like that, with dust pouring out of them. And in fact, it's not pouring out of them, it is the columns themselves turning into dust. And that's what's going on with the rest of the building. I'm just going to keep playing this over and over because this is so crucial. Again, a solid chunk enters the dust cloud. When it comes out, it doesn't come out at all because it turned to dust inside there, and you have that little tiny portion left over. Now, if you're going to say, well, it's just hidden by the dust, by whatever means you'd like to propose, where did it go? Where is this? This whole top chunk of the building, where is that on the ground? Where do we see that? You don't see that. Show me a picture of a 208-foot wide section of outer columns that are all interconnected and conglomerated together. You don't see that. All you see is it descend into the dust, and in fact, it turns into dust right here, and this little remnant emerges. The rest of it is dust. It's as simple as that. And once you can see that, everything else falls into place beautifully. Okay, here's another angle of the same thing. Apologies. Here we go. So you see this tilt. It's a little bit harder to see here, but you can see this solid outline of the building descend, and it goes in here, and it doesn't come out. And that, right here, what we're seeing, these columns here are the same columns we saw in the other video, with the dust frothing up behind them because that's what they're turning into. And the more you watch this, the more you come to the realization that the entire building is just unraveling like a sweater. Steel is turning into dust. It's not coming out of the steel. The steel itself is being dustified. And again, if you're going to try to deny this, where did it go? Where is the top chunk of this building on the ground? You don't see it anywhere. Now, if you're going to say it got hit by something else on the way down, what else did it get hit by? It was the top part of the building. Nothing else could have hit it. I mean, unless you're going to try to argue that it did. But at that point, I think it's very obvious that you're trying to deny what's right before your very eyes. And that is the building turning to dust. If it didn't, where did it go? And that, my friends, is the entire point of Dr. Judy Wood's book, Where Did the Towers Go? The buildings turned into dust. I know I'm being very repetitive here, but I cannot emphasize this enough. That is what happened. They did not collapse. They did not slam to the ground. They turned into dust in midair. Again, one final point. By the way, none of what I've shown you is anything that she has said. This thing with the spire that I'm about to show you, she does bring this up. But that other video with that inner chunk dustifying, that right there, to my knowledge, she has never brought that up. This thing about the entire top 30 floors of the building just vanishing, and out pops this little tiny chunk that's all jaggedy. By the way, how did that get jaggedy? I mean, nothing could have possibly hit that from the inside. It was the top part of the building. There's no explanation for that if you're going to deny that that's turning into dust. Otherwise, where did it go? Where did it go? Where did the towers go? And that's the entire point of the book. But back to the spire. I'm making the same point again. You have this 1,000-foot, this column, I think right here is about 1,000 feet above the ground. These are probably more like 900 or so. But it stands there for a second, and then it descends while turning into dust. Was there a 900-foot hole in the ground? No, it descends straight down, and there's nothing underneath there. It did not fall over onto other buildings and smash them. The fact is, it turns into dust. Otherwise, where did it go? The same question could be asked about every single, or virtually every single piece of steel that we see on the buildings. So again, I'm just going to let this play out. And I hope you can see what's happening to the building. It's not collapsing. I've demonstrated to you that from this chunk here, at least that much is turning into dust, and what we see happening to that is what happens to the entire rest of the building. It's undeniable, everyone. Stop trying to get around it. That is indeed what happened. There's that one. I will also return to the video I played at the beginning of the second tower. You see the same exact thing happening. Also, that antenna at the top, 360 feet, I believe. Where did that go? There's a tiny chunk of it that was pulled out of the debris field. I don't want to say pile because there was no pile. There's no reason that should have disappeared. But it did. So why? Where did the towers go? Thank you, everyone, for your attention. Please check out other videos on my channel if you are so inclined. But if you have not read the book, Where Did the Towers Go?, read it. Or if you cannot afford it, at least watch the 2-hour presentation that I will put up here as a card. Just watch it at double speed if it's too slow for you. Believe me, it will change your entire worldview and teach you how to think. If you're still denying this, please watch this again. Continually ask yourself, where did the towers go? You cannot answer that unless you acknowledge they turned into dust in midair. Thank you for your attention.